Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Ben and I, Chris, aka Starrapter. Welcome to the Starrapter YouTube channel. Welcome to Outer Rim Transmission. It's episode 129. We're a little bit late for Life Day, but we're still going to be celebrating that here on the podcast tonight. We're going to get into the evolution of Life Day, the spawn of Life Day, in the infamous holiday special, and where it is today, how it's seeded into the canon of the Star Wars lore and galaxy. We'll go over a couple news stories, but there's not really been a whole lot, honestly. So we're going to probably ramble a little bit on this episode, maybe, I would imagine. Milton will be back with us next week, I believe. So it's just going to be me and Ben this week. How's it going, man?
Good. I mean, it's a really good weekend. Got some good workouts in. Hit my diet well, so it's been pretty good overall. My NFL team won today, so that's always a good thing. And now we're ending the weekend talking about the holiday special and Star Wars Life Day. So what's a better way to end the weekend than talk about the masterpiece that is the holiday special?
Yeah, so we could just start off with that, I guess. I mean, do you have any Star Wars, our weekend Star Wars kind of things to talk about? Because, yeah, I can mention about the Life Day thing.
I really don't. Other than okay, so I last night I sent you guys a thing in our group chat. Well, once we get we'll get diving into the holiday special, but so the funniest thing I think coming out of the holiday special. So yesterday was the first time I really I've watched it years and years ago, but I wasn't actually paying attention. But yesterday was the first time I intentionally sat down and was like, okay, I'm gonna just put my phone pretty much on silent and try to watch this for the hour and 37 minutes that it is. And I made myself pay attention, and oh man, that is something. But for starters, my little week in Star Wars leading into that it's funny because back then, this was created this was released in 78, so that means it was made probably, late 77, early 78, which means, it was such a different era for Star Wars for one. But for two, a funny thing I instantly came into this was, as you noticed, Chris, when you checked it out, it said sponsored by General Motors. So, it's so funny, seeing, a Star Wars property, being sponsored by General Motors and stuff for, because you want to imagine a big studio being sponsored by anybody nowadays. And, so it was funny just seeing that little tagline at the beginning of the holiday special.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of my little week in Star Wars, but of course we're going to get into the entire holiday special. But
Yeah,
how
my
about
week in
you?
Star Wars was reading, and there go a couple Lorcana cards that I had on there. This amazing book here, High Republic fans rejoice, we are back. High Republic is back, and it is better than ever. Masterpiece of a book. I don't have my review out yet, but man, oh man, one of the best Star Wars books I've read in a long time. And I've been saying that a lot this year, I feel like. Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade was amazing by Delilah Salza. Now George Mann has picked up the mantle. He's delving into Phase 3, Trials of the Jedi. The last phase of the High Republic has now begun in earnest. There's been the Shadow of Starlight comics. There was the main High Republic comics by Cavan Scott, but, it's nothing like reading a highly hyped Star Wars novel. And I said this on Twitter. I said, sometimes it feels like when I have a book like this is for me, the hype is almost this is up there with the games. This is up there with the series. This is up there with the movies because, especially when it comes to the High Republic adult novels, they really go big and the stakes are huge and the characters are so complex and there's so much in there. And it's just, again, it's a testament to the architects of the High Republic, everybody that was involved, and publishing, doing the good things here. So, yeah, I've been enthralled with the book. I finished it in about 3.5 days. So, that tells you how good it is.
Yeah.
Almost a
Hey, that's
400
good.
page book,
It's Yeah, it's always good when you have a Star Wars book hook you in like that. I mean, that's how I was I remember back in the day with Death Troopers, that book just hooked me and I was like, okay, I got to finish this right now. So it's always great getting a good Star Wars book that really hooks you like that.
Oh hell yeah! So there we go. That was my week in Star Wars, just consuming, being back into it all of the High Republic. Not that I've fallen off, but it's been a little bit of a gap, other than Tales of the Light and Life and random thing here and there. And no, I did not get lucky enough to get the Stellan Geos lightsaber. I know it's one of our topics for now. I guess I'll just talk about it now since I mentioned it. But yeah, there was the first real concrete High Republic merchandise, limited to 5,000 quantity. They were selling a Stellan Geos lightsaber, cross-guard blue lightsaber, ornate as all hell, as you would expect from a lightsaber hilt designed in the High Republic. It was up for sale on Disney Parks website or the Disney store, whatever it is, online or at the store or at the physically at the store, and it came with a special cover of the High Republic annual, I want to say, or free comic book day edition with a cool new variant cover. I think my one friend that was in line said it was like 350 bucks, so it's actually a little cheaper than I thought I would be. I just hope this bodes well for, hey, people obviously were craving this thing. Is sold out in less than 2 hours. Send that message to Disney and get Hasbro to start making these things
Oh
in
yeah.
wide release. Like, come on
Well,
here.
like I recommend, the Disney Parks lightsabers. Like I was reaching over and grabbed mine.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
here's my
they're
Anakin
great.
slash Luke one,
Yup.
and it's metal, it's heavy, and it's cool because like it has like an insert, so you can block off the part of
Yeah.
it, so dust and stuff doesn't get
Oh,
into it,
wow.
and it comes with a stand, like you
Yeah.
can like put it on, you can hang it on the wall like this, or you can even put it up and down where it's just held up like that, and you know. This one was only like 120 bucks when I
It's
got it.
insane how they're able
You
to keep
know,
the prices down so low. And
Well, and they have a variety on there. Like you
oh
said, they
my
have the Higher
gosh.
Republic ones. They also have like, all the prequel ones like Qui-Gon,
Yeah.
Dooku, Maul,
Yep.
all those people, Yoda even. It just has all your main characters of Star Wars, and I'm pretty sure, they were supposed to, I think, release an Ahsoka one, if I'm correct on there.
They do. They've released one. Yep. Two of them. You
Yeah,
get both of the
so
sabers in a
yeah,
special case.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, they're really good quality for the value too.
I mean, yeah, like I said, over the summer, I built my Galaxy's Edge, from Savvy's workshop there at the Disney World. It's amazing. Incredible craftsmanship for such a low price. Because, I mean, you go and you get like an imitation lightsaber that are meant for dueling from like Ultra Saber or Saber Forge or something. They're like triple the price, and they're not even like the realistic
Yeah.
looking
Oh,
ones.
yeah, I can attest to that, like, for a future unboxing we'll do here on the channel.
Oh,
But a collectible lightsaber I bought was almost 4 times the amount of that Anakin one. So, it was, I mean, it's worth it for the thing I got. We'll see it eventually on this channel.
ah,
But even at that, it's crazy to see, but then again, that's what you can get like when I guess it's like the trade-off of having those smaller saber companies because
hmm,
like, you know, like with a bigger company like Disney, they can advertise like literally internationally versus just like a smaller saber companies like advertising on like Instagram and YouTube and stuff.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So getting into, well, yeah, actually, real quick, you mentioned this is kind of fun. This spawns on another whole nother discussion. You called
Yep.
it Anakin's saber. I call it Luke's saber. I know some people call it Rey's saber. It's just funny about the legacy of a lightsaber and what people will say. I think like first come whatever the words come out of a person's mouth kind of sets them in whatever trilogy maybe they like the most, even if it's a consequent and a subconscious reaction that you're not even thinking about. It's like, yeah, you call Anakin saber. You're a big prequel fan. I call Luke Skywalker. I'm a huge
See,
original trilogy fan.
well, see, here's the reason I say Anakin's actually isn't even due to the prequel trilogy. It's because like ever since I was younger, it stuck with me. Obi-Wan saying this was like your father's lightsaber or whatever and all that stuff. So like, that like stuck with me like, oh, it's Anakin. Then when we finally made that connection to Anakin being Luke's dad or Vader being Luke's dad, it's like that like stuck with me. Oh, and that's another saber I would love to get eventually too.
Yeah.
Is the Vader saber on the Disney Parks website looks
Oh,
really good as well.
okay. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's funny. You want to see any grown ass adult just turn into a kid. Just go to one of like the lightsaber vendors in Disney World. It's like the Disney Springs area, downtown Disney and Disneyland in California. They have the dedicated Star Wars shop, and then they have like the nice glass case as if it's like a jewelry store or something. And they have all the lightsaber hilts just like spread out, and you just see like people going up to the counter and just like, oh my gosh, it's Luminora Unduly's lightsaber. Oh my gosh, it's Asajj Ventress's lightsaber. It's not just like the big names. They have the actual nitty gritty, like random ass Jedi that you see
Yep.
for not even 5 minutes in the prequel. It's really neat. Hasbro hasn't even tapped into going into that yet. Oh, and I just seen the other day they're going to be having a Kanan Jarrus lightsaber that you can actually take
Oh, dang.
apart, just like he does in the first episode of Rebels.
Oh, that's really cool.
Focus fire on the Jedi, as Agent Cal
That's
says.
awesome.
Love that moment. One of the best moments in Star Wars. Right? If you ever have an episode, that is definitely going to be in my list for one of the best moments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you that might have gotten the Stellus Geos lightsaber, congratulations. I'm happy for you. And hopefully Disney sees this and is like, let's make a second run of these. Or let's make Avar Chris's lightsaber. Or some other. Give me Porter Engel's lightsaber that looks like it's a pirate cutlass with like this blade that goes along his hand, right? As the hilt. So cool stuff there. So rolling into housekeeping, you can listen to us on any podcast app of your choice: Spotify, Apple Music, Google Store, Google Play, whatever it is these days. Go ahead, subscribe. Please leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. It helps the algorithm. It helps us kind of stand out amongst the crowd of other great Star Wars contributors in that space. Also, if you're listening, we go live every Sunday around 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'd love to have you a part of our positive Star Wars community here, being a part of the conversation, adding in little tidbits, steering the conversation in some ways, some shape or form. We'd love for you to do that. We also have super chats enabled, super thanks enabled. Not necessarily, obviously, but if you want to show your support for me in the channel here, that's always kind of a tip link. You could send in your contributions through that. So getting into out this week, as I mentioned already, very, very good Star Wars book, The Eye of Darkness, out this week. We also have a bevy of comic books that came out this week. We have The Mandalorian adaptation, issue number 6. We have Star Wars Visions is having these one-shots every couple months. At least we have 2 announced so far. And we got the one already called Peach. It's written, and I would say written in a certain asterisk. There is no dialogue. So it's a lot of very abstract images. Some of you are like me. You might not be a big fan of Peach Momoko's work. You're probably not going to like something that's completely created by her. It's a little bit abstract. As I said in my review, it just kind of left me a little confused. Kind of like, where's this going? Obviously, this is not canon, which is not saying it's just disregarded in a trash pile. I'm just saying this story is not meant for me. I appreciate that Lucasfilm is giving the leeway to creators to kind of go outside the box, and that's really, really cool. But maybe I have to read the story another time or look at it another time, but it didn't resonate with me. You could listen to, well, actually, you can't listen to us this week because we're on hiatus for like, at least for me this week. But usually, me and Matthew Neugebauer from the Star Wars Underworld Network, we're on the Tractor Beam podcast, usually every Thursday. Last week, he was busy. This week, it's going to be American Thanksgiving, so I will not be on. I believe he's going to be doing some kind of solo thing in the meantime. And then we'll be back next week in earnest, the following week. I guess that's the last week of November. So stay tuned for that. We also had Dark Droids issue number 4 and Dr. Aphra issue number 38. I will also put this out there. Dr. Aphra, there's been some news stirring around recently. So there was a trade paperback that was solicited of containing issues, I think 32 through 40. And based off of that, there's some speculation that perhaps the series could be ending with issue number 40. Based on how the numbering works, based on how things are being set up in the Dark Droids, it looks like this series might end in February because there's no actual release of any Dr. Aphra issue in 40, past issue number 40, which is January. So sometimes comics they do have a buy month, especially in the like the February March months. That's usually seems like the time where okay they let go of the gas a little bit. And it's whatever for whatever reason they get a break. So it might just be that. But then why would they only have issues whatever through 40? That's kind of strange. So we're curious. I would expect that we would learn more very very soon if that is the case. I reached out to Alyssa Wong, the writer. Of course, I wasn't expecting a response, and nor did I get one, but it was worth a try. But I'm sure we'll see it on StarWars.com when they do announce it is the end. At New York Comic Con this year, they announced that Star Wars Bounty Hunters is ending this year or next year with issue number 42. So things are wrapping up for that pre Return of the Jedi era. I really expect to see us bridge that gap at the end of next year at the very, very least. So stay tuned. Look at that stuff. I'll give a shout out to a really cool Star Wars podcast and great social handle called Star Wars Splash Page. Those guys uh, are great. That's Jeff and that's Matt. They talk about the comics every week, and Matt does a really good job of aggregating all the comic book dates that are constantly fluctuating, and he's constantly keeping us up to date on what's coming to the letter. So definitely give those guys a follow. They're very valuable if you're avid comic book fans. I know I use them every week as I'm going through getting my artwork and stuff. They do a great job of promoting what's coming out and doing a good job for the community there. So there you go. I think that's everything. I think that's housekeeping is in order. I already knocked off the one story about the Cell and Geos lightsaber. Another cool story that popped up is apparently Jedi Survivor is up for a Grammy nomination. A video game in a Star Wars galaxy is getting a Grammy nomination. So pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. I don't know to what capacity that this award is there like a video game award now at the Grammys?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't follow like I'm not like the biggest I don't know. I just like kind of like listen to music when I lift weights and that's about it. So I don't really follow like the music scene really well. Like I don't check out the award shows or anything like that. So I'm not sure. I would if I had to guess, I mean I could be 100% wrong, but I would guess it's probably like a sound design type thing or something like that maybe.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I'm not sure.
currently looking to see who actually did the music for the game as we speak. I should have done my homework a little better in this case, but when I find that information, I'll be sure to give you guys that if I can find it during the course of this podcast. But we do not want to hold things up for that. But I thought that was pretty cool. I want to give obviously credit where credit is due. Simple Google search is not popping up with that. I think it would be that easy. Uh, but okay, Stephen Barton and Gordy Hobb. All right, there's only a second round of nominations. Okay. Oh, Star Wars actually put this on their Twitter. Okay, congratulations to Star Wars Jedi Survivor and composer Stephen Barton and Gordy Hobb on their Grammy nomination for Best Score for Video Game. Oh, that's
Hmm.
cool.
I never knew they had that for the Grammys.
Okay, and here's who they're up against: Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, God of War Ragnarok, Hogwarts Legacy. Oh, I'm happy about that. And Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. I have no idea what the hell that last one is.
Those man, that's steep competition though for those first few you
Oh
named especially.
man. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy like Hogwarts Legacy, that was the first game that came out this year. And that's what's on everybody's mind now is because the Game Awards hosted by Jeff Keighley, they put out their game nominations like last week. So there
Mm.
I've seen, Jedi Survivor. I might as well mention that here. Jedi Survivor is up for best action adventure, and I believed it was snubbed from being best game of the year. Simply put, I
Mm.
played through the game twice now, and it still holds obviously it holds up. It just came out a couple I mean it like the story is just as good. The story is just as good for me. Absolutely love it. And I mean the game of the year nominations are let's see, it is Spider-Man 2, Super Mario, Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Zelda, and I think there was one other one in there. somewhere. But any other year, if it wasn't as busy as it was this year, I really strongly believe Jedi Survivor would have had a nomination for Game of the Year. But it's just the fact that you had Zelda and Baldur's Gate 3
Yep.
coming out the
Spider-Man
same
2 is
year.
big.
Spider-Man 2 is huge. And then for whatever reason, I know the last one now. Resident Evil 4 Remake. It's like, that is BS. I'm sorry. You don't put a remake that got made 20 years as your Game of the Year contender. I don't care if it's that good. Like, that's not fair. The game's bare backbones were already made 20 years ago. Give another game a shot. I understand. Like I'm playing through another amazing remake right now, and that is Dead Space. It's incredible, but as good as it is, I wouldn't say it's game of the year just simply because there's other experiences that are brand new, built from the ground up. So I don't know who was actually.
Well,
Obviously, they
you
have a
got
committee in voting these things, but who was voting for that game that became of the year?
you got to think about it this way. Like, think if they would release a like a Halo 2 remake next year for like its 20th anniversary, or
Yeah.
in a couple of years for its 20th anniversary. The thing is, though, you got to view it this way: the people that are voting are all people that are like in our age, like in their 30s or early 40s. That 20 years ago they were kids playing,
Hmm.
Resident Evil. So like they have that built-in nostalgia, and obviously, I'm sure it influences voting to a degree. So
Yeah.
I would say that's part of it. For like something like that, that's very odd that a remake would make it, for all the reasons you listed. But hey,
Yeah, and then it's not a gaming podcast as much as I love to talk about games, but briefly, Starfield should have been there. Diablo 4 should have been there. Throw. I get Hogwarts is not the best game either. Throw that in best action adventure somehow. I don't know, but all said and done, this is one of the best, probably the best year for video games. Period. Looking across the board, just so many like nines and tens out of tens when it comes to just high quality, and things were held, right? You had the big pandemic that really slowed production down. And then this was like the backlog of the stuff that was being worked on that they all had to hold. And then they're like, okay, let's all put them out in 2023. These are all the games that should have been out a year or two ago. They're here, and they're all within a whole calendar year of this amazingness to play. And I'll be playing these games well into 2024, the ones I can play, because I'm not playing Zelda, I'm not playing Spider-Man 2 because they're console exclusives and all that sort of thing. So, but yeah, so there you go. There's our gaming. It's good. I mean, I like the movie awards and stuff, but it's fun watching the game awards. I would keep my eyes peeled in that first week of December because I wouldn't be surprised if Outlaws puts another trailer out. Maybe during the awards because we think that game's going to be out sooner than later. So that's when they reveal a lot of things, including maybe a look at Grand Theft Auto 6. So there we go. All right, enough with video games. But we're going to be talking about Life Day. So Life Day, I have a description right off of Wikipedia. I'm going to read it to you guys right now. Okay, so Life Day was a holiday of Wookiee tradition that celebrated family, joy, and harmony, values, and tenets of Wookiee culture, traditionally held at the Tree of Life on the forested Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk. Celebrations were held by people across the stars after the dark times of the Galactic Empire, making the Wookiee holiday their own. People marked the day with festive decor, lights, feasts, and music, where sentients were reminded of compassion, the promise of the Tree of Life. So there you go in our thumbnail. You see the Wookiees with the red celebratory cloaks and this kind of bubble thing with the life, and that's what they kind of like throw into the air, and it like just hovers by the trees and all. So yeah, I mean it's just kind of a free flowing uh discussion. So technically, I don't know when this was deemed or where it was deemed, but Life Day is technically November 17th of every year. So just a couple days ago, people were out there on the interwebs going, Happy Life Day, and you might have not known what the hell they were talking about, but hopefully with our discussion today, you'll have a better idea of what it is and how it affects the Star Wars community in and outside of the canon and everything else. But yeah, Ben, we were just chilling on the computer. You're like, oh, I'm watching the holiday special because this is where it all comes from. Life Day. Chewie can't be late for Life Day. And that's where this came from. The holiday special, as you alluded to. So tell us a little bit about it.
All right, so for starters, like George Lucas basically he wasn't involved with it. So keep that in mind with
Ha!
all this discussion we're about to say because basically he just let the director who made this, I can't think of the guy's name, but he basically just let him have kind of free reign on this. And Lucas has said so many times like he wishes he could just like erase all copies of this. So
Oh.
we'll corner the conversation with that. But anyways, so like the holiday special, it released in 1978, and basically it's this special. And the cool thing here, there are some bright spots about it. You have the original big three actors in it. You have actually all the actors from the episode episode 4. You have Harrison Ford, you have Carrie Fisher, you have Mark, you have Anthony Daniels, you have Peter Mayhew. And then it's funny, like when R2D2 gets introduced, he's like the narrator's like R2D2 playing as R2D2. Like they didn't even give like what's his name, the guy that played R2 credit on the intro. But
Oh yeah, Kenny Baker, right?
Yeah, Kenny Baker.
I noticed that.
Yeah, they didn't even give Kenny Baker credit, and it was so weird. I was like, okay, I guess we're just calling him R2D2 now. And then like they introduced Chewie's family. So like the premise of this, it opens with Han and Chewie, they're being chased by Imperials in the Falcon. And he's basically having to get Chewie back home for Life Day because they're late, and like the Imperials are interrupting it. So like that's kind of like the start of it, and then we can like dive into this whole thing.
Oh yeah, so I tried watching it last night, and I just couldn't believe I tried watching it a long time ago, and man, this was an experience to say the least. It was something that I watched, and that's what I'll say about it because it was just absolutely bizarre.
Well,
It was weird because you had something about no subtitles, and then I was watching. I'm like, why aren't there I get it. The Wookiees usually you have Han Solo as a human, inferring what Chewie is saying by what his own dialogue is. But when
it's
you
just
have
all
no
Wookiees
human
talking.
characters, you have no human characters for like 20 minutes, and it's just this random stuff that these Wookiees are doing. This stuff would never fly today. This would never
Oh,
fly.
oh yeah. So basically, you have Chewie and Han getting chased, and then it cuts to like the Wookiee family, Chewie's family, Nala and Itchy and Lumpy, and those are his kids, and like you said, the Wookiees literally talk. Like the first 5 minutes of the episode is or the specials Han and Chewie, and then it cuts to the Wookiee family for legit like a 20 straight minute non-stop 20 straight minutes of Wookiee chatter with no subtitles whatsoever. So you have to really pay attention to even understand what's going on, and you still barely understand what's going on. Just because it's so just wacky. And then like, you go from like the Wookiees, you have the Wookiees, doing their thing. It's like it's basically like showing like the daily lives of the Wookiees,
Yeah.
like leading up to Life Day, kind of. That's kind of like what you're getting out of it. And then shortly after that, you do have Darth Vader make a cameo appearance a little bit after that. So like after the Wookiee scene gets done, you have Vader basically like giving like a rebel alert to the sector of like the Wookiee homeworld and stuff to basically like have the Imperials like rule martial law because
Yep.
they know there's like someone's on the run. There's like a rebel in the area or something that's on the run they're looking for. So all the Wookiees have to be like locked in their houses or like everybody has to go back to their houses, and you have like a traitor, a human traitor, like show up who's also like a kind of like a rebel agent. He shows up in the Wookiee house, and then you have like these like very cheesy Imperial officers show up. Like, man, those are like Walmart Imperial officers that showed up, but they show up, and like it was just so bizarre. Like bizarre is like the only word I can think of for it because it's just so. I don't know. Like I watched it before years ago, like I mentioned, but watching it and actually like really focusing and paying attention on it, you're like this is my thinking. This is what I kept thinking going through this entire thing last night. how, okay, and no shade on the creator, because we're not directors in Hollywood, but how do you watch A New Hope and you come up with this as your continuation as a holiday special? Like not gonna lie, like there's a lot of creative choices. You're thinking, man, what were you thinking here? Because this is just, it's wild. And then you have Vader letting out an alert with martial law, and then oh, so did you get to the cooking scene, Chris?
Oh yeah, that was so weird.
Yeah, so like you have like the Wookiees watching like a cooking program. Like we're literally watching like an in-universe like Gordon Ramsay type thing. And like it's probably like a solid 10 minutes a cooking
Yeah.
scene these Wookiees are watching, and you're like, what is going on? It's like stir, stir, whip, stir, stir, whip, and it's like,
Yep.
what is going
And
on
then
with
and then
this?
like arms keep coming out of her body, like just randomly. It's like, oh, she just happens to have another arm, and then another arm, and then you're just like stir whip, stir whip, stir whip. It's like, oh, and now you got your food. It's like, what the hell is this? You have to go into a certain pattern, and it's, huh?
Yeah, it is extremely crazy. And mind you, so what we're talking about so far here, this is like only like 40 minutes into this thing. Um, so you go from this, you go from like this cooking
Oh,
scene.
oh, oh! Remember the one scene when they're at the hollow table thing, and there's like these like little people dancing,
Yeah,
holograms. They're like Jexters or
yeah,
jesters from
yeah.
like a king or something. They're just like elves or jesters, and they're doing these acrobatic things like randomly. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh yeah, yeah. You have like a big like dancing montage thing almost in there. Um, and then it gets even better. We're like 45 minutes into this thing at this point, and like you have, okay, so Chewie's dad. Like, so I did research in that the Wookiee that has like the weird like fantasy is like Chewie's
Oh
dad. If you
my
didn't realize
gosh.
that.
Yeah.
Um, so like, all right, people, I kid you not. When you watch the holiday special, like Chewbacca's dad's sitting in the living room and he like turns on, I guess, like the computer or TV, and let's just say he's like watching, I would say, what's in universe like Star Wars adult videos almost.
Yep.
Because I mean that's what I would interpret it as, like, when you watch it, because
Uh-huh.
literally you have this woman in this video, and the funniest thing is I'm sitting here describing this and it sounds so ridiculous. I'm sure anyone listening to this is probably like, this can't be real. No, it's real, people.
That's real. Just
So
watched it last
so
night.
like so like I kid you not, like literally this was a Star Wars production and it was released on like ABC or something, and you have this woman, like Chewie's dad's watching this woman and she's like, "Oh, I'm like your fantasy and your pleasure and all this stuff." Like she's talking real
She
like
literally said the word
intimately.
pleasure, and I said,
Yeah,
"What the hell?"
she literally said the word pleasure in a Star Wars movie, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And she's like dressed up all like kind of like skimpy or whatever, and it's like, what is going on? Like, so like for starters, for creative purposes, okay, if you're making this, so you're gonna have Chewbacca's dad sit there in the living room and watch that, and not even go to a different room, like what is going on? So, and mind you, this scene goes on for like 8 minutes. So, you go from that, and then you get the Wookiee family getting a call from Leia to find out where Han and Chewie are, basically. And the cool thing is, like I said earlier, it's Carrie Fisher. It's awesome seeing Carrie, like, shortly after A New Hope back then. And, it's insane to think about this. Like, outside of the original trilogy, all of us have always talked about, oh man, what would it be like to see Han, Luke, and Leia, like, outside of 4, 5, and 6, when they were young? And, like, the only time we actually see them young are in this holiday special. Um, and, like, you get Leia getting this call, or, calling the Wookiees and stuff, calling about Han and Chewie, they're basically getting reported that Han and Chewie are like, not there yet, and all this stuff. So, she sends, or the rebels send Luke and R2 and 3PO to go and find them, and this is where it gets really wild.
Uh-oh.
Now,
I was
Chris,
asleep
I
at
don't,
this point. I was asleep at this point. I did not
Okay.
let that last long.
Okay, now I want to ask you this. How would you react if you were watching a Star Wars movie? You get Princess Leia, doing this call to Luke and the droids, and then Luke takes off in his X-wing, and then it transitions to cartoons. It transitions to pure animation, and it's like, wait, we're almost an hour or 45 minutes to an hour into this, and it's transitioning to actual animation. Like, I wonder how fans would react, like, if we would have went into, like, The Rise of Skywalker, and halfway through the movie, just like a 20-minute chunk of the movie was pure animation, and then it goes back to live action. Like, that is actually insane. So, so I'm sitting there watching it. And the funny thing is the animated scenes looked better than the real life scenes.
Yeah, I know.
Like they look better than the real life scenes. The real life scenes look like, almost like your Walmart level costumes.
Dude, half the time,
yeah,
they were zooming in on like a flat painting. Like,
yeah.
making it seem like it was part of the, like, dude, I can totally see it's just a painting. You're zooming in on the house. It's a painting. It's not actually like a constructed set.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. So you have this transition to animation.
Yeah.
And you have Luke and the droids. They go to this planet where actually like Han and like Chewie are. And the crazy thing is you get there, and this is actually the significant part about the holiday special is this is the introduction of Boba Fett to the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm.
So like you see Boba, and he's in that classic holiday special armor. Like if you look it up, it's actually I really do like the look of that that holiday special armor on him. But you get Boba getting introduced to Luke, and even then he's trying to like swindle. Or like trying to like work like do his bounty hunter like tricks on him, like he tries to befriend him and all this stuff. And then this is where it gets really wild. So you have the Imperials released like this like sleeping virus on the city basically, and it only affects humans, is what R2D2 and 3PO say. And so Luke passes out. But here's the interesting thing about that whole thing. So when Boba's talking to Vader, the intercepted transmission R2 and 3PO get of Boba talking to Vader, Boba's talking to a live action Vader even though he's a cartoon. What? And it's like what in the heck is going on here? Like
I think they just had to cut the budget at that point. We're like, all right, we can't do this scene, just animate it.
Yeah, it's wild. So you have like Boba talking to like a live action Vader transmission, and it's like,
what?
Okay. Yeah, it's like, what in the world? So you have that happen, and then you have like Han and Luke and them get woke up eventually, like when Chewie gets back with Boba, because Boba took Chewie on this mission to go find the antidote for the virus, which he was really doing that to stall to like call Vader. And then basically like they get back, and it's so weird because like Han and Luke get woke up. Because the antidote, and then you have Boba, instead of like even putting up a fight, he's like, "I'll see you soon, friend," and he like leaves, and it's like, okay, like that was pretty like interesting. Like he didn't even like try to like capture them or anything.
About anticlimactic. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he literally like when 3PO and R2 like tells Boba's whole plan. And like Boba literally just turns, he's like, "I'll see you again, friend," and he like jets off, and it's like, okay, like yikes. That was anticlimactic. And then it cuts, and like Chewie and Han and them are like rushing back to like the Wookiee homeworld to like go for the meetup with all the Wookiees for Life Day, and you basically have like, I don't know, I guess like a fake rebel call almost, or a fake rebel thing. So pretty much like. So pretty much you have first of all, for starters, you do get a bar scene. It has the Mos Eisley Cantina scene, Cantina music, because they don't have any other music to play back then. Yeah. So it's the Cantina music, and it's pretty much reminiscent of the Cantina scene, except the bartender literally sings a song with the bar patrons, like pretty much saying it's like closing time on the bar and stuff because the Imperials are putting martial law on us and blah blah
Oh
blah.
man.
And like it's legit like a 6 minute number. Um, and then after that scene, it cuts to the Wookiee household. They're like arguing with this Imperial officer, blah 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 blah, and then they get a call back from the Imperials. So it's basically like them wrapping up the story without even like really doing much to wrap it up. But it's pretty much like they get a call back from the Imperials that there's like rebels in a different sector or something. So then they leave, the Imperials leave, and then all of a sudden, like a couple minutes later, you hear like the door getting pounded on, and you're like, oh no, are the Imperials back
Yeah.
or something? And then it's like Han busting, Han and Luke and Chewie and all them busting, and they're like, oh, we made it, blah 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 blah, like Happy Life Day and all this stuff.
Sheesh.
And then Han and Chewie, like it was cool though, getting to see like Han talking with Chewie, like because some of those moments with our live action characters were still good. Like it was cool. Han gave like Chewie and his family members a hug, and he's like, I always view you all as like my family and all this stuff. So it was cool, like getting that. And then Han and Luke, they leave to go back to like the Rebel base, and you have, they meet back up with Leia, and Leia literally, Carrie Fisher legit does like this Tree of Life holiday, Life Day holiday song, and she legit like sings like this Tree of Life song literally to end the special, and and she's like, oh, this is everything that the Tree of Life has taught us, and blah blah blah, and then it like cuts, and it's like, whoa, what did I just watch? Like,
Yeah. So
that was
there you go.
insane.
I mean, that's a pretty good rundown, a pretty good recap. It's gonna save all the listeners and the viewers out there a lot of trouble, a lot of wasted time, a lot of torture in some cases, because man, oh man, you're watching this and I still can't get over this first 20-30 minutes of just like for literally 20-30 minutes of just nonsense. Like if you're not watching it, if you're in the other room and you're just hearing this, you're probably thinking, what kind of national geography thing am I watching, geographic thing am I watching or something? Because it's just a bunch of noise. And the cost cutting, like the space sequences in the beginning were just ripped out of A New Hope, recycled.
Yeah, they were.
They were literally recycled shots of the TIE fighters hitting the Millennium Falcon from behind.
Yeah,
Stuff like
it was
that.
literally just lifted from A New Hope.
Yeah. So there you have it. So getting into the second part of the discussion, now that you know where the spawning of Life Day came from, why is it beginning to go into the positive realm of things? Or what I'm trying to say is this used to be a cursed topic in a Star Wars fandom where it was the thing that the hardcore fans knew about, but they never wanted to talk about. Like it was one of those, like, the thing that shall not be named, the holiday special. Yep. You do not want to talk about it. You know where to find it, but you certainly don't want to recommend it to anybody. So how does it go?
The creator hates it.
The creator, yeah, George is like, oh, that thing? I don't know what you're talking about. He just disregards it. So Life Day spawned out of the holiday special, and there's been so many things since that have referenced Life Day, right? So it's pretty interesting to see the comeback of something so negative being spun into so many things. So yeah, I want to just take the time to just mention a couple things that kind of legitimize the holiday special in a way.
Well, all right. So first of all, I think one of our number one things we got to bring up is the kickoff, the very first day of Disney Plus.
Oh yeah,
Mandalorian season 1, episode 1. I mean, Life Day's mentioned in like the first 10 minutes of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the blue guy says something. I'll be late for Life Day. Ugh.
Yep. He says it, so like, that's Dave and John basically acknowledging like that. And then, it canonizes the concept of Life Day at least. And then, throughout Mando, we've had little nods to it. We had that nod. We had in one of the episodes, like one of Din's main blaster rifles is Boba Fett's rifle from that special, from the holiday special. Like that's literally his rifle straight up, like they lifted it from that. Like it's called the same model and everything. So, it's just really cool seeing them embrace something so terrible and and like embrace it in a way. Like, they find the little bits and pieces of positivity that came out of that thing. Like, there's not a lot, but it's cool just seeing like how that's came around. And then, like you said, it's trending more toward a positive direction. Obviously, it's like atrocious. I just watched it last night. It's terrible. But the thing is, it's trending more and more around to where like I feel like the fans, it's trending more in that positive direction because like a lot of fans are embracing, those type of like cheesy, nostalgic 80s, 70s things, from all the different franchises, not just Star Wars. Like, I mean, look, DC just brought back Michael Keaton from the 80s Batman. Like, so you have like a lot of like nostalgia almost, I guess, is getting embraced, which I think can be a good thing. And I think, honestly, I've joked around about it before, but I really do think they should do what Guardians of the Galaxy did, invest however much money, make an actual good quality Life Day episode and update it with Daisy, Adam, John, Oscar, even bring back Mark if you want to, and like just make a live action Life Day, like 45-minute special for Disney Plus, just like Guardians did. And this time it won't have 20 minutes of animation in it. Like, you could actually do something, and now you have more, in theory anyways, more competent creators to make it.
Right. Remember the Lego Life Day special?
Yeah, I mean, look,
Yeah.
they already made a Lego one, so like, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That one was great. I loved the concept of Rey going through time travel and finding Mandalorian, find pod racers, finding all these prequel characters and like having this big battle at the end. Like, that was so nuts, but it felt so right, Lego can do that. Lego can get away with a lot of fun things, but
Yeah.
I could find some truth in that. I could find some stuff that will fit right in. Going back in a day to a game that's been out for over 10 years, Star Wars The Old Republic, MMORPG. There are events in a game that come around every once in a while, and the Life Day event was an event that's been around since I think the beginning of the game. So they have this like week or 2 weeks where they have some snow here. They have those like bubble things they could throw at people or something like that. But it just goes to show you, like, even way before the Disney buyout, like the Legends material was even, acknowledging the holiday special in an obtuse way. Because there's really not any other Star Wars holidays. I think we talked about this a few times. Like, they're really... Life Day is, like, the only one that I can think of that they've focused on. I would like to see them do another Life Day. Well, actually, they have the Life Day Treasury book that Cavan Scott wrote. There's also a cool High Republic story in there. But basically, what that book does is it shines a light on different cultures of the Star Wars galaxy, different aliens, and they all have a different name for what Life Day is in their own culture. But basically, it's like they're all celebrating around the same time of the year for their planet, whatever that could be, in the same kind of way, right? It's all about compassion, giving others something and get, so, it is a lot like our society where we have holidays that could be kind of similar for other religions maybe and civilizations, but they all come around to doing the same sort of like compassion type of stuff in the end.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, it fits right in with like our holiday seasons of like Thanksgiving and Christmas and things like that, around this time of year, like the November, December season. Because like you notice, like a lot of people are usually in like better moods around these times of year because of like those holidays specifically. So you have a lot of that. So like they kind of applied that to this special, and yeah, like you said, in like the Star Wars universe, like that's pretty much like, the Star Wars Christmas / Thanksgiving type thing combined pretty much. And it's cool, it's cool that they have something like that in Star Wars because, we can like relate to that. It's like a relatable concept. Like there's always relatable concepts in movies and shows of different things. We always talk about like the hero's journey. Like that's a relatable story concept we relate to. Like, so these type of holidays where it's like people like being happy and like, having good family time. It's relatable. And also speaking of this special, I believe in one of the books or something or another, they made one of the Wookiees canon. I'm pretty sure either Lumpy or Itchy or
I
one of
believe
those.
yes. Thanks for bringing that up. That's the Aftermath Life Debt book. I think they go back to Kashyyyk,
Yep.
and his son is there, and he meet Chewie's son, and I believe his wife is there too, Mala.
Yep. Mala.
So yeah, that's cool. Oh man, I gotta reread that book. The Life Debt book is so good because that whole sequence on Kashyyyk when it's like this guerrilla warfare and it's really brutal on the Wookiees. But man, I could use more of that. But yes, yeah. So that's what I mean. It's literally Life Day is represented in every single medium of Star Wars except the movies. I don't think there's been any references in the actual films, but every other avenue it's mentioned. So games,
Well,
movies. There's a comic book one shot called Life Day that came out last year.
I think did they indirectly, because like you were saying, Chris, like it's Life Day is viewed differently around the galaxy as it may not be like the Kashyyyk one, but around that same time period around the
Yeah.
galaxy, it's getting viewed like celebrated and stuff. Did we indirectly though witness Life Day though in Rise of Skywalker because they said, okay, we gotta do some math here. So when was Rise of Skywalker released again? Was it 19 or 20?
19 at the end in December.
Okay, because they said how when they did the celebration with Lando and them, what they say it was like 40 years or 41 or 42 years or something,
Mhm.
and that many years prior would have been 1978. I'm pretty sure they said like 40 or 41.
Hmm.
So I I wonder if that was like an indirect callback to this holiday special because they said it was like 40 some years. I'm like 95% sure they literally said the word like 40 or 41 or whatever. So, and if you think about that, like 40 some years before that would have been like 78, 77 somewhere in there, 79 like so maybe that celebration in Rise of Skywalker was like, that planet's life day.
Hmm. Yeah, Agent Class, right? That's where they were at the end.
Yeah.
Could
So it
be
makes
possible.
so, so that's what I wonder. I mean, that's the only like in-universe thing I think that would be even close to it. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but it's just, going through a list of everything that has been mentioned, right? Like we're going through Life Day number one. Oh, even in Star Wars, I just watched this the other day. Duh. Star
hmm,
Wars Young Jedi Adventures. They actually go to Kashyyyk and they help out with Life Day. That's right. I just watched that the other day.
oh, that's cool.
It's mentioned in things like Star Wars Squadrons. There's multiple references in the High Republic. Yeah, so it's literally all over the place. I'm very curious about Legends though. Like how does Legends treat it? Looking through the Legends timeline, obviously I said the Old Republic has it. Oh, there's lots of it. If you look at the Legends lore, there's a lot more Legends lore for this than there is for the canon counterpart. All right,
Oh yeah,
so
there's
yeah,
there's definitely a lot of.
yeah. Oh, Death Troopers. Apparently, it's mentioned in your book.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't remember. It must have been
Oh
just a throwaway.
man.
It must have been a little line because I definitely don't remember
Oh
Life Day
my
being
gosh, it was
referenced.
actually in Star Wars Galaxies and Empire Divided. Wow,
Oh
that takes me
wow.
back. Oh, it's mentioned in the New Jedi Order. Enemy Lines 2, Rebel Stand.
Interesting. Like those are definitely like one-off lines because I don't remember them doing a full-blown like celebration thing because I've read all those books like but man, they might have. I just don't.
Yep.
When you've read like every Star Wars Legends book, everything just like bleeds. Um
Yeah, they
bleeds
mentioned it in
together.
a couple X-Wing books. Yeah. Oh, it's in a old Clone Wars video game. Wait, was it? Oh, the Clone Wars Adventures. I don't even think I ever played that one.
No, I don't think I played that one either.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, this goes to show. This goes to show the lasting impact that this fictional holiday has, kind of gone out and spread its wings and gone out. Uh, yeah, yeah. I will pivot us to one last news story, and this one comes to us from Attila the Finster in our chat. So there you go. If you're part of the chat and you have a really cool topic, we might just actually bring it up live on the show. They are asking the Old Republic 1 and 2 remake remasters canceled. Another failure from Disney. Yeah, so it looks like this has got my gears. I was talking to you about this in private messenger earlier in the week, Ben.
Um,
Like what hell of a show is going on there, man? Like first it was announced I think 3 years ago, maybe over 3 years ago, which means if I was doing my math correctly, I think we would have been playing in an alternate dimension. We might have actually been playing the KOTOR remake right now. We could be reviewing it for all we know on this show right now in another universe. But things just didn't align. You gave Sony was in partnership with this game when it was announced. It was announced during a PlayStation State of Play thing, and they were like, "Yes, we have the developer that has been working on all of the ports." And that immediately Aspyr, Aspyr.
yep.
They're great for the ports they make. They make all the Star Wars ports. I'm pretty sure, whether it be Republic Commando, Pod Racer, the actual KOTOR from back in the day, they've done all that. But I was already skeptical when it said they were the ones that are going to be spearheading the development. Like these guys don't have skin in the game. They don't have like an actual original IP that they've built from the ground up. They're just, doing the remastering. So what's going on here? Then it went to another developer. Then it went to another developer after that helped making Halo and Destiny. And then Embracer Group, which is like this conglomerate that is apparently buying out a lot of video game studios. They bought out a large portion of I think it was a large portion of these studios like Crystal Dynamics and people making Tomb Raider. Anyway, and now that game company basically started laying off a bunch of people recently because their profits aren't good enough according to them. And I think this might be a repercussion of that. Unfortunately, is that they're looking at this game and they might be saying, "Hey, where are you guys at? Like this is in development hell. We can't spend any more money on this. Let's just indefinitely pause the project." So I'm not saying that this thing is canceled, and this comes from a good source. This is from Jeff Grubb from, I believe he's from Game Rant or something like that. But very well established, great reputation in the games industry. So what he says usually is pretty good track record. He's saying there hasn't been anybody actively working on the game. So take with
Yeah.
that what you will. I mean, yeah, maybe they can like restart it, but right now we're not getting this damn game anytime soon.
Yeah, I think at a point I think we're at a point with the game, that's been so long. It's like it's at a point like if you're from the company's point of view, it's like do we continue to keep dragging this out when we keep having these issues and issues and issues versus just like letting it go and moving on to something else. And also
GameSpeed.
you have
That's the
yep.
journal that he's from. Yes,
Oh, yep.
GameSpeed.com.
And then you have like the repercussions potentially of all right, so KOTOR, it's an all-time Star Wars classic. Like a lot of people will argue it's like arguably the best Star Wars story ever, even including in the movies.
People
So,
say, Ben, people say it's the best role-playing game ever made. Not
yeah,
even
okay.
Star
So,
Wars. People are saying it's one of the best games, period, ever made in the
yep.
last whatever eternity of
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
Perpetuity.
so keep that in mind. So it's like you're going to actually when you go and remake it, do you, you're taking so many potential repercussions. Like, in my opinion, there's no way you can win because
No.
all people are going to do is compare it to the old game. Even though the graphics and everything will look better, obviously, because we're years and years past the original, but people will still go basically frame by frame or like scene by scene of the game, and really take it with a fine tooth comb. So I just think it's not worth the time and effort because I think it I think it could cause more harm and potential backlash than good, in my opinion. So to me, I think the best solution, I pointed it out in our chat a couple days ago. I think their good solution is okay. This is all just banking on if the James Mangold movie, actually happens, like the movie that's taken place, 20 some thousand odd years before, our current era of Star Wars. Like, why not just make a game in that time period? Like, not KOTOR, but why not just make a game that's going to be alongside the James Mangold movie, so you can start building out the 20,000 years of before the 20,000 years era in current canon, so you could have a movie and a game simultaneously going on to like start to build out that content in that time period versus bringing back an old classic. And then on top of it, you're also putting indirect pressure on the James Mangold movie, because if the KOTOR game in theory is happening around the same, even though it's not canon, but
Yep.
in theory it's happening around the same time as the James Mangold movie, that's going to put weird pressure on the James Mangold movie to kind of almost satisfy like the KOTOR crowd as well, because they'll be looking for the KOTOR content on screen in that movie. Once they hear Old
Ooh.
Jedi, and all that stuff, they'll be looking to that. So to me, I just think you're just really setting yourself up for not failure, but for potential like a lot of social media discourse.
Yeah, that's what I also agree on. You have something that shouldn't be messed with, I feel like. I feel like I'm kind of happier. Imagining if the game came out, how much more damage would it do to the brand? I mean, the brand has already been damaged a lot from the sequel trilogy. It's not really any lie about that.
Yep.
I'm not taking too big of a step by admitting that. And I like the sequel trilogy. I enjoy it. But I recognize a lot of people in layman terms are just like, yeah, remember that sequel trilogy? Yeah, it's not doing much. Can't argue there.
Yeah.
But so do we really want to have another huge thing of people going, oh, remember they made that KOTOR remake and it just really was crappy? Like, we don't need
Yeah.
that. Like the games have been great. The games have
People
been
still
on
bring
an
up
uphill.
Battlefront.
Yeah. Yeah, people do
I
that every
mean,
once in a while.
yeah,
But
like
yeah, I think it's just there comes a point where it's just something that's this good, don't mess with it. My thing is people want an experience like that. That's fine. Maybe just put it in a different timeline. Don't call it KOTOR, so it doesn't have those, that kind of pressure. Because no matter what, there's pressure if you call something KOTOR remake. So you got to just go ahead
oh yeah.
and maybe put it in like the sequel trilogy era or something. Because if you put it in the past at all, people are just gonna be like, "Oh, this is like trying to be KOTOR, but it isn't." Then put it in the
Yep.
future. I don't know. Do something in the future, but just give us like an updated RPG, right? People keep looking at Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think it could be that, but maybe more like the Final Fantasy games that are like more like the action
Or
RPG or
I
something.
mean, heck, why not just give us a game set during the prequel era, during the Clone Wars, and like you pick out of all the Jedi what character you want to play as Plo Koon, Mundi, Luminara, whoever, like, and just kind of do like a similar KOTOR type thing. Like, you do
Yeah,
your Jedi
but
missions,
that's
like,
the only
and
thing.
people love that prequel era. So like, especially our generation. So like, they could capitalize on that big
It's
time.
difficult because I was listening to a
Oh yeah, all
podcast
the
today.
stories.
I was listening to a podcast today, and I think the biggest thing that got people really into KOTOR that maybe not even were Star Wars fans is just the RPG elements of the dialogue trees and how drastic you could go with the story. And with canon being such a sacred thing these days, it's not as loose as things were. How do
Yep.
I have a canon story where my playthrough is dark side, and I just unleashed the army of the Sith, and you're saying on your end, no, my story is I'm a good guy and we vanquished the Sith. Like that's where things are not the same as they used to be 20 years ago, because there's a lot of different structure with the story and everything like that. But that is the main thing. Like that's the main thing that people want. They want to
Well,
have that
here's the
freedom
solution.
of doing all that.
I have the solution for you for that. It's easy. All you do, if you want to keep it canon, all you do is just have the opening of the game be a Jedi or a Sith character having a vision, and then the entire game is a vision, and then the Jedi wakes up at the end, and it doesn't change
Yeah.
anything really.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
you know, that's like the only way you could do it like in canon is you'd have to have something kind of like, you know, kind of that like safeguards the story element, so you can just keep it almost fantastical by like having a character like have a vision of, you know, a what if type thing or something.
Or like, and this is why you can't be Plo Koon or Adi Gallia or Yariel Poof or whoever, because those people have like actual lore. That's why you build up a character. That's why they did this in KOTOR. Like you build up like your
Yeah.
character. Eventually, Revan became like a household name and all. But make a no-name character, and maybe the way they can work around it is have like, I wouldn't say small scale, but maybe like this little system that's like off in the distance of the galaxy that's kind of on its own. You might have a
Kind of
system
outside
of
the
like,
galaxy, like Peridia.
yeah, like
past
6 or
that.
7 planets, and then from here on out, when your books refer to it, when the series refer to it, be like, oh, we heard rumors of this happening over there. You don't have to be direct. You could just be, oh, the legends said that this happened over there, or rumors have it that this happened over there. That way everybody's story always exists, but you're not like just declaring that this was the outcome of this player's journey. Just say, oh yeah, this happened out there. These are the enemies. Like you're not gonna make a reference to the actual story itself, just or the outcome, just maybe elements that were a part. And that's what we had this conversation before. We were hearing about Star Wars Outlaws, the upcoming open world game. There are decisions you make. Hey, I can be with the Pikes at this point of the story, or in this point of the story, maybe you choose to be with the Hutts instead. You know, they're not gonna have like those little like nuanced little things like that. It's really the end game that is gonna have a set kind of story route, I guess you could say, or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could, like you said, you can work around some of those things just by saying, like, oh, rumors or stories or whatever. Just because it's, I mean, heck, like Obi-Wan said, you know, in the original trilogy, from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have that built in kind of, you know, kind of like storytelling and like rumoring in the universe already. So, like, you could work with some of that, like, flexibly, I would say. Um, like, yeah, I mean, I think there's ways they could do it. It just, you got to get some good creatives on it, really. That's the main thing for the story.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I am a little bit bummed because the way they made it sound was they were going to revamp the entire combat. They were going to have it more action based. They said it was going to be more like they had somebody that was recruited that worked on Demon Souls and it worked on Ghost of Tsushima. So it's like, oh wow, those are some high echelon developers that worked on like more action oriented combat. And I think right now people are, and I say this, but I'm also looking at Baldur's Gate 3. It's like for the most part, people are kind of done with turn based games. They want that Final Fantasy esque where it's like you're more action oriented. But then you look at Baldur's Gate 3, and that's probably going to be game of the year from what I can imagine. And that actually went back in time to where it's like more like that turn based, like I do something, wait for the other person to react, then I do something. It's a lot more of that, I believe. So, I mean, hey, what's not to say that maybe they're looking at Baldur's Gate 3 like, you know what, if we do a KOTOR spiritual successor, we could still kind of use the same system, just update it a little bit, and maybe people will be down for it.
Yeah. I mean, they could easily do that. Yeah, I just think, yeah, it just comes down to how they do that and like, you know, just the marketing for it once they would get a game like that built up, like, because you gotta like with those type of projects, you gotta like control the marketing so hard. Like, you know, it's hard to like not compare it to KOTOR. Like, you know, so you couldn't have a lot of like the creatives out there saying like, oh, this is the next KOTOR, blah blah blah, because you know then it sets your expectations way up here. So like, they would have to like get some of that side of things. Like, like I harped on it last week about Star Wars PR. They would have to get the PR team really on point, sharp, like, hey, this is the game plan, etc. Like, don't really mention KOTOR unless, you get asked about it, like say something fond about it,
Yep.
move on. Like, they would have to do it that way, because as soon as you mention, like, soon as a creative from that game would like mention KOTOR, for
Yeah.
example, that would immediately set your expectations to KOTOR level. Okay, if it's not as good as KOTOR, the game stinks. So,
Mm.
like, so they have to, like, with games like this, like, it just comes down to marketing and what's said in the marketing process and things. Like, you know, um, like with Skeleton Crew coming up, who knows whenever it does come up, but like, with that show, we're hearing, just like you hear a lot of Jude Law stuff. But the good thing is, like, most people don't have a problem with Jude Law, so it's fine. Like, that's fine marketing, and they're fine like chatter about it. But like, if it's something negative, then it would already put like a negative spin on Skeleton Crew. So like, it just comes down to that whole like marketing vibe for a game like that. A game like that could potentially work if that type of communication is done well.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, that PR really has to be on it because the gaming community is so volatile and so toxic.
Oh
And I
yeah.
love the gaming community, but man, it is some of the worst reactions you'll see to just about anything online when it comes to the culture and everything. So yeah, you just gotta, I'm still waiting for Star Wars Eclipse, darn it. Like I really
Yeah.
thought that trailer was kick ass. That's another one that's kind of been out there. I know they're working on it. They're trying to recruit more people, but the studio is not the best studio, because they have some weird stuff that was going on culture wise over there, but
Yep.
hopefully they clean
Well,
that up and I can actually get to play a High Republic game.
yeah. I mean, you have that. You have I mean, heck, another thing too, talking about Star Wars PR, kind of like off the cuff here. I mean, did you get a chance to see Taika Waititi's comments this week?
No.
Oh, didn't you? Oh, okay, yeah. He got fans riled up a couple days ago. I'm sure any of our eagle-eyed viewers or listeners on here, I'm sure they saw it trending. So this was like, I believe Thursday or Friday. Taika Waititi was trending, and I was like, oh, I wonder what he's trending about. And I clicked on it, and I was like, oh no, Star Wars drama. Um, he flat out said, quote, his Star Wars movie is going to piss people off, unquote. Um, so, of course the Star Wars fans were like going wild about that. But the thing is, like with Tyga, like, when you read the full quotes and everything, he's like joking, like,
Yeah.
you can, he's joking. He's a comedic person. He, he jokes around with all kinds of things, like much less just Star Wars. He jokes around about Marvel and like his other movies. So like, I don't see a problem with him saying that, just because, he's probably just doing that to get a rise out of the fans,
Hmm.
because he's that type of a joking person. But even though, see, this is my thing. Even though I know, and I'm sure if you would have saw the quotes too, Chris, you would have been like, oh yeah, he's joking. Like, it's clear he's joking. But the problem is, this is where like I come back like harping on like the Star Wars marketing and PR and stuff. Like, like we were talking about the video games, and last week we were talking about the movies. Like with Star Wars, I wish they would reel in some of this PR stuff, because in my opinion, even though Tyga was joking, that quote should not even be a headline that's even out in the media, in the landscape, because then you see people saying, literally, I saw so many videos, people making headlines, Taika Waititi says he wants to piss off Star Wars fans. Like, so like, to me, that's where I'm just like, man, come on guys, like, get this marketing under some wraps here. But the interesting part about his quotes that came out was like it sounds like his movie's not like a mega priority right now, but it also sounds like he's like getting close to being, completing it, based on that interview we had the other day. So that's probably going to be coming in the pipeline eventually, but I think that's the farthest movie out. We have the Ray movie, we have the Dave Filoni movie, we have the James Mangold movie. Like, the Mangold movie's 2027, so I bet you we're not even going to see like if the Tyga movie happens, we're probably looking at like 2028, 2029.
All right, so I had to dig up the article.
Oh yeah, yeah. Check it
May
out. It's
4th, no, May 4th, 2020 was when they announced Taika Waititi to direct and co-write a Star Wars feature film for theatrical. Over 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. Dude,
and it might
I'm
it might
not,
end up being 7 or 8 years later.
yeah, no, I get it. I'm not part of the Hollywood machine and all that. But, and he had said recently that he has other scripts he's working on before. So you're telling me he had all these projects over 3 years ago? I doubt that. So this is where I don't understand because this project has been with his name on it for over 3 years. And I get he's taking his time. I get it. But what the heck is this not a priority for him for? Like, this is Star Wars, you know?
Yeah.
I just find that just crazy to me that he's released like how many movies since like this thing got announced now? Like he keeps going back to oh, I'm finishing
Well,
this first. I'm finishing this first, you know?
well, right now he's working on. I was listening to another friend's podcast the other day. He's working on, I believe, 3 separate things right now. He's working on the Star Wars thing apparently. He's working on a anime, or he's working on a movie from an adaptation from, I think it's an anime novel or a comic or something. It's called like the Akira Monster or something. He's adapting that to like either a movie or a show. And then he's doing something else, so that he has like 3 different projects he's working on right now. Like,
Mm.
so I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens with him because here's the thing. Like at the end of the day, so setting aside the bad PR and the bad comments and the ill-advised comments, because don't get me wrong, I'm the joking type of person too. Like I would probably poke fun at people just because I'm that type of person. I'd be like, come on, guys, like don't I'm more aware because I like for me with Tyka's comments, I just think with him saying that it's almost like him saying that it's almost like him being aware of how sensitive like the Star Wars fandom is to any little headline. Like I don't know, I feel like it's him joking and then he may deliver, on a movie. Like he may deliver something good. Like it's just like, your reverse psychology thing, like people setting expectations way over here and then it's way over here. Because the thing is Taika, like he's a good director. Like, he's had good movies and things. And he just says a lot of wacky stuff in the media. But setting aside what his comments are, at the end of the day, Star Wars fans can say what they want about his comments, but at the end of the day, most people love the finale of Mando season 1.
Mm.
Like that was done really well, and most people really enjoyed it. And it had, I guess we did kind of see Taika's comedy in Star Wars because he had the stormtrooper punch Grogu when he was in like the bag or whatever. But other than that, like the finale for Mando season 1 wasn't a big, comedy show.
Yeah, I often forget that he directed that episode and he voices IG-11. I mean, I just watched his upcoming movie. Actually, I think it's out. Yeah, it's out by now. It was at the AMC in New York City. They have this thing called Next on Screen or something. It's like it's a mystery movie.
Mm.
Screen Unseen. Screen Unseen. It's a new initiative by AMC Theaters. You can pay $5 and you don't know what movie you're going to see, but it's an upcoming movie. So I was really hoping it was the Marvels, but it ended up being a Taika Waititi movie that I had never even seen a trailer for, so it was pretty fun. And it was a good movie. It was really good, heartfelt. Like, that's the thing with Taika Waititi. He knows when to be funny, but he also knows when to rein it back and then, like, really hit shit in the gut with something emotional. So, yeah, first of all, recommend seeing that movie. It was really funny. I thought it was great. But, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, I just thought that Kathleen Kennedy in one of the interviews basically said, like, from now on, directors are going to be more focused. Like, they're not going to have as much leeway to, like, do, like, several projects. But I guess, with him, it's an exception because that guy's always involved with 3 or 4 things at once, it seems like.
See, I think with him, he's kind of like on the inside, kind of like group of creators with Star Wars at the moment because he's doing the voicing, he's directed in the Mandoverse, like
Yeah.
he's being involved with them, and he's kind of like indirectly under like the Disney umbrella with Marvel too.
Mm-hmm.
I think with him, it's see, like this is, it's crazy to say, but I feel like, of course the Ray movie's happening, the Dave movie's happening, because like the Ray and Dave movie, you got to view them like this. They're like ideas from inside the building. Like Lucasfilm was the ones that came up with those ideas. Like Lucasfilm employees, like Dave, and then of course, like everybody in that building would want to continue the sequel era. So you got those projects that are inside the building. And I would say, like, by the comments, anyways, it sounds like James Mangold is the one that pitched the idea to Lucasfilm for his movie. So to me, it's like, if any movie wouldn't happen, I feel like it would be the Mangold movie, and then maybe the Taiga movie replaces the Mangold movie, because the Taiga stuff, it feels like he's working, inside Star Wars with them versus being an outsider pitching the idea to them. So that's my view on that, because it's like, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know about like the Mangold movie. Will it happen? Will it not? Like after the last time Mangold worked closely with them, they had one of the biggest box office flops in history in Indy. So it's just like, can you really go to the board and be like, yo, we need $200 million budget for this movie. Don't pay attention to the last time we collaborated. That's something I think about. So I'm kind of like skeptical on that. And I feel like if anything happens, like maybe the Taiga movie slots in 2027, like December 2027 potentially. But even at that, at the end of the day, like you said, Chris, at minimum, that's 7.5 years after that movie got announced.
And I know
It's crazy.
Lucasfilm had been reeling back on that. Like they're very secretive now. They don't like to announce even the dates of the damn shows coming out until like a month before, right? So at the same time, like they're doing that because of this issue, right? Let's hope that this doesn't happen again. They announced at Celebration, but they never even gave dates for those movies, although they've been speculated on when, and now with the strike being over and that was lasting 6 months, that's all in flux now. But yeah, so there you go. There's some random topics there at the end. So we got you guys a nice longer episode in the end of it all. But we hoped you guys enjoyed our discussion about Life Day, about overall with the games right now, a little bit with the movies. So I think we kind of covered all major territories in the Star Wars galaxy. Ben, thanks for joining me tonight on another great episode of Outer Rim Transmission. Where can the people find you? What are you talking about online?
Yeah, you
All the
can
good
find
stuff.
me talking Star Wars and fitness and sports at Real Ben Maynard on Twitter, and you can find me probably sharing like fitness things on Instagram at Real Ben Maynard as well. And then if you want to follow Milton, he posts his workouts a few times a week, or he'll post like his meal prepping and stuff on his Instagram. It's Milton7Weber on there.
There you go. There you go. I want to give a shout out to our chat room. We had Star Wars Timeline gracing our presence. It's so nice to see you back, man. So go ahead and check out his content. He has some really great dives into legends and other things on his channel. We also had Attila, the Finster, and your friend Ben, Alex Elkins, was chatting it up
Yep.
all about the good stuff. So yeah, you guys can join them, get your feedback to us. You can also do that on Twitter, tweet at all of us. You can also send an email to outerrimtransmission@gmail.com. That's still active. You can also buy a t-shirt from Teespring. Just look up Outer Rim Transmission. Again, if you are watching, thank you for watching. You can also listen after the fact on any podcast streaming service of your choice, whether it be Apple, Amazon, Google, all those ones. Spotify, make sure you go ahead and give us a review. Helps us appear on the algorithm a little bit easier. And then, of course, tune in every Sunday around now, 7 p.m. Eastern, where you'll be able to interact with us live and join in on the great positive Star Wars vibes we have going on every single week here. So for Milton, who couldn't join us, for Ben, for I, Chris, aka Starrapter, that's going to do it for Outer Rim Transmission 129. Thanks for watching, everybody, and may the Force be with you always. End transmission.